All right, I am at the Messenger's Schoolhouse and Cemetery here between Belleville and O'Fallon, Swansea area. And this is on the former property of John Messenger. First Speaker of the House of Illinois, created the first map of Illinois. Came to Illinois because he was an abolitionist. Served in the Black Hawk War. Did incredible things in regards to education in an era where we were fighting to achieve literacy. And this is definitely a special place, special man. You know, folks, it's certainly important to remember the veterans, many of them still with us, from wars that are recognizable. Vietnam, Korea, World War II, getting into the wars of this century, and certainly Desert Storm in the closing years of the 20th century. But you can't forget these wars, and with a little study you find out how important they are. Of course, the war to end all wars. This is represented in this resting place here in St. Clair County. A great job in recovering this cemetery. The Civil War, of course, what a price paid for, there are so many divisions in this country that had to be solved. And then the Black Hawk War. And I believe President Lincoln was among those who served in that war. And if he didn't, I'm really looking like an idiot. So remember all of the veterans, war or peacetime, here as we hit 250 years. I don't know how old that is as far as that marker, but that's pretty majestic, pretty impressive. Gone but never forgotten. Served in the war to end all wars with the Navy. Died about 5 years after the war, 34 years old, who knows? Whatever causes of death that may have come into play, but you very well look into the possibility of the after effects of that war, but that's impossible for me to know. Incredibly sad. I don't think you can really make this out, but boy, and you really can't feel in scope how tiny that marker is. Maybe this will give you an idea. 4 years old. There you see the hard to believe they left us in 1909 and 1902. I'm assuming that was a vandal along the way. Here you have it. 117th Illinois Infantry Regiment. Killed in action 1863. It may sound like a strange thing to say in a cemetery, but a lot of love in this place. Auntie. See, there you go there. That says volumes. But you look at this, it reminds me of a lot of Civil War sites, because a place, now this wasn't a Civil War battle site, but you think of places like, Mount Lookout, I believe, Chattanooga, Tennessee, and it's hard to imagine the bloodshed in it. So often those battles happen in hilly, beautiful, peaceful places like this. You know, you look at folks like this lady who passed in 1916, the sacrifices and the suffering they endured, the loss of children when that became just a much bigger part of life, cholera and every other thing they dealt with. We really do stand on the shoulders of these folks, and they weren't just figures in a history book, they were people. You never know when you're going to be the last to arrive at a cemetery, and it looks like that happened in 1967. Speaking of a statement of pain and sacrifice, this is the back of the marker I showed you earlier. It really has propped up this cemetery over the decades. They believe this to be the first Pearl Harbor monument in the country. Who would have thought that this cemetery was soon to be a part of the past, as far as not having new people stake their claim for their final resting place here. Now these folks, many of their names have been erased from these aging markers and tablets. One thing's for sure, their role in the world we live today has never faded.